People all over the world were shocked when they heard that Diane Keaton had died on October 11th, 2025. The actress who played famous parts in Annie Hall and The Godfather has died at the age of 79. She was a superstar on the big screen. But what shocked people even more than her death were the last details about her 15-year relationship with Al Pacino, a Hollywood romance that not many people were brave enough to talk about. She talked about the years she spent with Pacino and the painful reason they broke up before she closed her eyes for the last time. He never decided to marry her, even though Diane helped him through tough times at work and with money, secrets that were never told. Diane told the truth about long-simmering disagreements, pain, and sadness that had built up over the years. What were the harshest facts about this love story that seemed like a dream? Let's watch today's video to find out all the shocking facts. Diane Keaton walked into a cast party in Harlem, New York in 1971. Heart tense and excited at the same time. As Kay, she was cast as a young actor who wasn't well known, Adams in The Godfather, a project that neither she nor Frank Coppola, the director, were sure would work out. That's where she met Al Pacino for the first time. He had deep, dark eyes, a sweet, boyish smile, and a husky voice that seemed to whisper the secrets of the world. Diane stood across the room and watched him in silence. Her heart was beating strangely. She thought, "He's a brilliant, crazy man. A lost child trapped in an adult body who always makes big gestures while telling passionate stories." It was hard for Al, who was 31 at the time, to keep the part of Michael Corleo, which would become the most important part of his life. They had a spark with each other before the cameras even started rolling. But Diane, who is naturally shy, hid how she felt, like a valuable gem hidden in an old wooden box. The days spent making The Godfather were like a strange dream. Diane and Al had a few brief moments together, from quick looks to short talks in between takes. They both thought that the movie might not turn out well. In the evenings after long days, they would drink and laugh together in a small Manhattan bar. "If this movie flops, what do we do next?" "Do you know?" Al once asked with a playful tone in his voice but a full heart. Diane didn't say anything, she just smiled. But there was a fire inside her. She loved how he talked nonstop, how much he loved his art, and how even a joke could make her feel special. Still, love was only a mild high. It wasn't enough to bring them closer. They didn't really start dating until 1974, when they saw each other again on the set of The Godfather Part 2. After a long day of shooting, Al asked Diane to join him at a small restaurant in Manhattan late one night. With the lights down low and cups of red wine in his hand, he looked at her with eyes that were no longer sharp. That deep voice of his told a big secret. "Diane, do you know how special you are?" Diane's face turned red and her heart started beating fast. They talked about more than just movies and plays that night. They talked about their fears, hopes, and the little things that made them laugh. From that point on, they started dating quietly, without any fuss or attention. Like how two artists meet in the middle of their work, Diane and Al's relationship wasn't like most Hollywood couples, who have big openings and magazine photos. But they found each other in everyday things. Al was lying on the couch in Diane's California apartment and talking about his dreams of becoming a theater actor while Diane listened with a smile on her face. As they walked along the beach, they talked about their best books and the movies they wanted to make. Diane loved Al's free spirit and how he put everything into every part as if it were his last. But she also felt a gap that she couldn't see. Al moved like the wind. He never stayed put long enough to really belong to anyone. And things got more complicated in the 1980s. Diane was at the top of her game because of the success of Annie Hall and Baby Boom. But her desire for a family got stronger. She wanted a house, the sound of kids laughing, and a man who was ready to settle down. But Al, with his free spirit, didn't seem to be able to do it. "I'm not sure how to be a husband." Diane tried to talk about the future, and he laughed and took her seriously at the same time. Diane went through painful breakups and intense reconciliations. She remembered how Al would show up at her door out of the blue with a bottle of wine and a sly smile, like no time had passed. But every time she wondered if she was the only one in his heart. Al sent Diane a letter written by hand in 1989, while he was shooting in Rome. The scrawled words, which were written quickly on hotel paper, meant a lot. Diane, I will always love you. She held on tight to the letter, her heart stopping. It wasn't often that Al was honest about how he felt without making jokes or looking away. Diane loved the letter and read it over and over again, hoping to find a promise of the future. She knew in her heart that Al's forever did not mean a marriage proposal or a family. It was the love of an artist, lovely but fragile, like a song that wasn't quite finished. Their main disagreement was about making a promise. Diane, who was 30 years old, just couldn't wait any longer. She wanted a home and security, but Al didn't seem to be able to give her either. There was a lot of silence at the end of conversations about marriage. "Al, have you ever thought about a life together?" she asked, her voice shaking. Al only looked at her, eyes full of pain, silent. Rumors circulated about Al's closeness to other women, though none were confirmed. Diane tried not to let jealousy overshadow love. But doubt crept in, like a small crack in the perfect picture she once painted of them. Yet Diane never gave up on Al. During this time, she also witnessed his financial struggles. When Al's $50 million fortune nearly evaporated, he spent lavishly from buying multiple cars and cell phones to spending hundreds of thousands on landscaping while employing an accountant, later convicted of fraud. Diane remembered his worry and pressure, unable to stand by and watch him struggle alone. Silently, she helped Al by lending money to maintain his lifestyle and morale. She not only lent funds but encouraged him to continue acting, reminding him of his genius. Al, in those rare moments, expressed gratitude. "Diane, you're the only one who never abandons me," he said once, sitting together in a small cafe. Eyes, for the first time, not evasive. These times made Diane think that their love was worth fighting for, even though it wasn't perfect. Together with her help, Al got his life back on track and kept taking on parts to make money, like ones in Jack and Jill and other commercials. By 1990, while shooting The Godfather Part 3, Diane chose to face the truth. She couldn't wait any longer for the future to be unknown. Diane looked Al in the eyes one night in her New York flat, which she knew well. "Al, either we get married or this is over," she said, her voice strong but shaking. There was a heavy silence. Al didn't say anything. His eyes were filled with pain. She already knew the answer before he spoke. She moved out of the apartment, giving up her dream of having a family with Al. The split was quiet, and there were no fights. Diane's heart broke, though. As she walked out into the cold night, she told herself, "I love him, but I can't wait forever." After that, Diane and Al were not friends at all. They avoided each other at Godfather events as if being around each other brought back too many painful memories. In one movie, Diane saw Al from a distance. He still had that boyish smile on his face, and it broke her heart. Once, they drank together to forget about their problems, and they were afraid that the movie would ruin both of their jobs. Now, though, they were just ghosts of the past. Diane didn't dislike Al. She kept the letter from Rome and read it when she was by herself at night. She smiled when his name came up in interviews. "I told myself, he was the love of a chapter in my life, and tried to move on." After Al Pacino, Diane Keaton never got married. Instead, she adopted 2 kids in the 2000s and raised them as her own small, loving family. Keaton said that being a mother brought her happiness and peace and helped her learn things about herself that her art couldn't. At the same time, Al Pacino kept up his personal life by dating other women, such as Beverly D'Angelo and Lucilla Pack. The names of his 4 children are Olivia Rose, Anton James, Julie Marie, and James. Pacino and his girlfriend Noral Fala had a son named Roman in 2023 when he was 83 years old. Even though he is getting older, Pacino still explores and experiences new things in life, making him a famous and deeply human figure. Al Pacino spends a lot of time in his autobiography, Sonny Boy, thinking about his 15-year relationship with Diane Keaton. He says that the time he spent with Diane was one of a kind because they both found comfort and flow in their shared life. Pacino wrote, "We found a rhythm in the right temperature, and it felt so right." He meant that Diane was more than just a lover to him. She was also a spiritual companion who brought him peace and security. In the late 1980s, she also helped him get through a major financial crisis by taking him to lawyers and helping him work out personal problems. Pacino has always loved this about her. On the other hand, Keaton kept a small part of her home full of memories of Al Pacino in her last years. In the middle of all the books, framed photos, and mementos from the years they were together, there was always a picture of him that stood out. Diane would often look at it and smile as she remembered the good times. Her eyes were sometimes tinged with sadness. It was a quiet reminder of a love that had never really gone away and had made her who she was. Diane often wandered into memories, even after decades had passed, of the times they laughed, talked in whispers, and had brief, tender moments. In comments afterward, she said that her heart had never really forgotten about him. Pacino made a mark on her soul that will never go away. This was the reason she never got married or looked for another love with the same longing. Diane Keaton was seen as a strong and beautiful woman by everyone. But she still waited in the back of her mind, hoping that one day she would love him again. She loved the thought that they might meet again in some other version of fate. That hope, which was quiet but never wavered, was both a relief and a deep sadness that stayed with her until the end. Before Al Pacino, Diane Keaton was in a troubled relationship with the well-known director Woody Allen. Allen wrote and starred in Keaton's first role in the Broadway play It Again, Sam in 1969. That's how they met. They were both creative and unique, and they were immediately drawn to each other. A short love relationship started. Even though they were dating for a short time, Keaton became an important inspiration for Allen and helped him make many great movies. In 1977, she won the Oscar for Best Actress for her role in Annie Hall. Even though they broke up romantically, their relationship didn't end. Instead, it turned into a close friendship and a long-lasting professional partnership. Diane Keaton continued to be in many of Allen's movies, and the two of them made movies that are now part of American film history. In 2018, Woody Allen's adopted daughter Dylan Farrow accused him of sexual abuse. Diane Keaton spoke out in support of her friend and said she trusted Allen. People and artists were divided by this public defense, especially since the Inez Meadow movement was on the rise at the time. Keaton stuck to her position and showed loyalty to her old friend even though she was under a lot of social pressure to do otherwise. So, what kind of person is Diane Keaton? What kind of life has she lived? What kind of work has she done? Diane Keaton was born on January 5, 1946, into a Hollywood family. Dorothy Deanne Keaton, her mother, was named Mrs. Highland Park in 1955. Diane will always remember the picture of her mother standing proudly on stage when she was only 9 years old. It burned a small flame of desire in her mind. Dorothy was set on giving her daughter everything she had never had before. That love was not only shown through lessons and hugs, but it was also carefully written down in 85 journals that Diane filled with news stories, photos, and memories from her trip. Diane found this treasure trove of memories after Dorothy's death in 2008. These memories helped her write her own story. At the same time, Diane's youth was shaped by watching her mother compete in beauty pageants. Dorothy wasn't just looking for fame on these stages. She was also looking for exciting storytelling situations that made Diane love performing and be interested in the world beyond. She saw her mother use glamour as a way to tell stories and live fully with love from a very young age. Jack Newton Ignatius Hall, her father, was a building engineer and real estate broker with Irish roots. He seemed calm and responsible, but there was a storm inside that shell. In his last days, he was very sick. Nicole heard Jack whisper to her on the way home from UCLA Medical Center that he had always hated his job and wished he had been braver. Diane was shocked by what he said. It was more than just words. It was a lifetime of sorrow squished into one moment. Diane became very determined after hearing her father's words. Jack felt trapped by numbers and real estate deals, but Diane saw this as an opportunity to follow her own artistic path. She used what she learned from her childhood and the pain in her family to push herself to try new things, risk taking on unusual roles, and build a business without asking for permission or giving up who she is. In the 1950s, life in Los Angeles was hard because her father's business wasn't stable and the family didn't have much money. Diane shopped at thrift stores like Goodwill as a child, while other girls bought expensive things. Her mom bought used clothes and used an old McCall sewing machine to make her special outfits out of them. Diane's unique sense of style came from this, but it also taught her to be strong, creative, and clever when things were scarce. Every piece of fabric and every stitch is a way to dress life in art, and Diane learned how to live her life in the same way. Diane learned another lesson from moving around a lot and having her family life change all the time. Things don't last forever, and that lesson helped her get better at playing. The ability to play strange, funny, or nervous roles that people love. Diane learned not only how to look at life from afar, but also how to fully live in each moment by remembering the good times and the hard ones. Diane began taking the stage on her own when she was very young. Her mother taught her to love acting and sharing stories, and her father made her want to be free and brave. By the time she was 3, Diane had turned her garden into a lively stage where she performed for her neighbors and put on plays with elaborate costumes that her mother had made. These little plays were not just for kids. They were true stories with plots, acting, and feelings. Did before she could read or write. Diane started to show off her skills more clearly when she got to Santa Ana High School. Many teens are afraid to play Blanche Dubois in The Streetcar Desire, and she did the same thing in Little Mary Sunshine her final year. When she first realized how powerful the stage lights were, the applause felt like thunder, leaving her speechless. She could feel that the performance was not only fun, but it also filled a void inside her, making her feel truly alive. Diane tried to join the Actors' Equity Association, but found that someone else had already taken the name Diane Hall. She didn't just pick a name at random. She went back to her roots and chose Keaton, her mother's given name, as a tribute to the person who inspired her to become a performer. It wasn't just a change of letters. Diane kept her mother's theater, costumes, dreams, and heritage alive while breaking away from her father's Irish last name. So, her name had a story about art and imagination behind it. Diane did really well in the theater club all through school. She wasn't interested in classical beauty or stage appeal, though. From a girl who is skinny and shy, she gained a little weight. Diane didn't hide. Instead, she used her clothes as a tool. She wore black leather tights, white lipstick, and anything else that made her stand out. Insecurity turned into a style over time. Years later, Diane learned from walking the streets of Soho and seeing strong women that she used to design her famous outfit. Wide-brimmed hats, oversized clothes, and neutral colors. Her clothes were meant to keep people away, not draw them in. In a strange way, it became one of Hollywood's most famous looks. Like her mother, Diane tried beauty contests, but she quickly learned that they only rated looks and not talent. She gave up, which shocked her family. It was the first time she felt free to be rebellious in public. The choice she made changed her style for life. She should be true to herself instead of trying to fit into a fake mold. When she was 17, she fell in love with a high school basketball player who ignored her and made fun of her funny laugh. It was the first time her heart broke. That laugh, which used to be a signature, felt like a curse, so Diane started making jokes to protect herself before anyone could hurt her. A famous actor named Tony Roberts once said, "She has a way of making you feel like a kid again because she never pretends to be anyone other than her wonderfully strange self." Diane used every experience, good and bad, to be creative. She tried Orange Coast College after leaving Santa Ana College after only one term in 1964, but she never really wanted to go to college. Diane's big break came in 1968, when she was 22 years old and cast in a supporting part in the Broadway musical Hair. The show was famous for its wild and defiant tone and scenes where people were almost naked. The directors told Diane she had to lose 10 pounds before she could go on stage. People thought she was too heavy at 5'8" and 139 pounds, especially for the revealing shots. Under a lot of pressure, Diane didn't give in. She wouldn't get naked and stuck to her position. However, the stress about how she looked started to really hurt Diane's health. She learned how to make herself throw up from another actor so she could keep her shape. And what at first looked like an easy trick turned into a nightmare that lasted for 5 years. Between 1968 and 1973, Diane quietly dealt with an eating problem that made her throw up to 20,000 calories every day. This led to tooth decay, heartburn, irregular periods, and high blood pressure that was dangerous. No one knew, so Diane had to go through it by herself. She started getting better slowly after she started going to therapy every day. And the moment she decided she didn't want to do extreme dieting anymore, her whole life changed. Luckily, Diane's work started to do really well. She tried out for the Woody Allen play Play It Again, Sam, in 1968. Diane almost lost the part because she was 5 inches taller than Allen, but it didn't matter once she was on stage. The whole casting team was blown away by her ability and charm. The play opened on February 12, 1969, and ran for over a year with 453 performances. It was a huge hit. Diane's performance as Linda Christie was so good that she was nominated for a Tony Award in 1969. This was a big step forward that led to roles on Broadway and later in movies. The most important part of Diane Keaton's work was her part as Kay Adams Corleo in the series The Godfather. Keaton played Michael Corleo's ex-girlfriend and now wife Kay in the first movie. She met Al Pacino here and they were together for 15 years. With the uncle part taken off, Kay gets married and has 2 kids. Keaton did a great job showing how Kay's feelings changed from love at first to sadness and determination as she watched Michael's fall deeper into crime. This gave the character more depth. By the last movie, The Godfather, Part 3. Kay is trying to rebuild her life after getting split, but she still has problems inside and the Corleo family's ghosts follow her around. With the movie Sleeper, which came out in 1973, Diane Keaton's career took another big turn. That's right, this sci-fi movie was both satirical and a surprise hit. Diane was no longer the serious Kay. She had a $2 million budget and made over $18 million. Adam Smith from The Godfather. She changed her name to Luna Schloer and became a strange and funny woman from the future. People saw that Diane could do comedic roles naturally and with a lot of energy in this part. It set the stage for her signature style of acting in the years to come. In 1977, 4 years later, Diane really came out of nowhere with her part in Annie Hall. Based on Diane herself, Woody Allen wrote this character just for her. The part, including her nickname Annie, the way she dressed and the way she spoke naturally, not only reflected Diane's real personality, but it also became a cultural phenomenon. The movie won many important awards, including the Oscar for Best Actress. It also started a fashion trend with big suits, soft hats, and wide ties, which made Diane an icon both on and off the screen. Diane again shocked people that year with Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Teresa Dunn is a teacher who is living a double life and going out at night in New York. The movie, which was based on the real-life murder of Roseanne Quinn, had frightening and raw scenes. This part was the exact opposite of Annie Hall, but it showed again how brave and versatile Diane is as an actress. Even the toughest critics had to admit that she was talented and brave because she was nominated for a Golden Globe. Diane played Renata in a serious Woody Allen movie in 1978. This time, there was neither a funny nor a sweet part. The movie was mostly about sadness, family secrets, and how the characters felt alone. While critics had mixed opinions, Diane completely won them over with her ability to show complex and compelling feelings. She was nominated for a Golden Globe and won the award for Best Foreign Actress at the Spanish Film Academy for this part, which shows that she can convincingly switch from comedic to dramatic roles. In 1979, Diane was in Manhattan, a movie that caused a lot of controversy but did well at the box office. People had different feelings about the love story between Woody Allen's character and a 17-year-old girl, even though the city looked beautiful in black and white and the music was dreamy. Still, the movie made almost $40 million in North America, making it one of Allen's biggest hits and proving that Diane is a versatile actor. All kinds of parts, from funny to dark and from charming to sexy, are on the table for her to try. Diane came back to Allen's work in 1993 with Manhattan Murder Mystery, after being away for a long time. At first, Mia Farrow was supposed to play the lead part, but Allen's relationship with Farrow's adopted daughter became troublesome, so Diane was chosen at the last minute. Even though she was under a lot of pressure, she did a great job and was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Performer. This was also the last time Diane worked with Woody Allen, which was a big moment in her film career. It wasn't easy for Diane to be a director, though. The company that made her 2000 movie Hanging Up messed with it and cut out the saddest scenes, including some powerful performances with Walter Matthau. Diane had been fighting skin cancer since she was 21 years old. In 2005, while shooting The Family Stone, she had to deal with a personal problem. She played a mother who was dying on TV. In real life, Diane had to take care of her health by always putting on sunscreen and clothes that would protect her. By 2018, Diane was back in book club, this time playing a widow who was learning to love again. At 72, she played a woman who was still afraid of love and had never been married, but had been through enough emotions to make people feel something. The movie made more than $100 million. When the movie came out in 2023, it took the series to a whole new level, showing that Diane Keaton still had her charm and ability to lead. Amy Keaton finally died in California on October 11, 2085. She was 79 years old. In her last few months, her health quickly got worse, which shocked and saddened her family and friends. Some sources said she had major health problems, such as skin cancer that had been going on for a long time, and other problems. During her whole life, Diane Keaton lived a quiet life, especially in her last days. She didn't go out in public very often because she spent most of her time with family and close friends. In the past few years, she also said she had dealt with eating disorders and skin problems that had impacted her personal life and the way she took care of herself. Diane Keaton had a successful acting career spanning more than 50 years. She won many prestigious awards, including the Oscar for Best Actress for her part in Annie Hall. In 2017, she was given the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award by the American Film Institute. Keaton did more than just play. He also directed, produced, and wrote movies like Hanging Up 2000 and Summer Camp 2024. Diane Keaton was known for more than just her work as an actress. She also lived an independent life. She never got married, but she did adopt 2 kids, Dexter and Duke. Keaton also loved animals and often posted sweet pictures of her pets on social media. In her last few months, she finally got to sing, which was her dream. In 2025, she released her first song. Diane Keaton got a lot of honors from co-workers and fans after she died. Stars like Bette Midler, Steve Martin, and Goldie Hawn all told her they were sorry and admired her. They said Keaton was a fashion and comedy star, a great friend, and a one-of-a-kind artist. Diane Keaton's work will always be remembered by people who love movies and art. Diane Keaton talked about her friendship with Al Pacino in a lot of interviews. She talked about Pacino with respect and appreciation, pointing out how dedicated he was to his work, how talented he was, and how independent he was. They worked together on The Godfather and became friends later. These stories give a real, warm, and complicated look at the relationship between these 2 Hollywood icons. They make fans wonder, was it love or just respect and a close friendship? So, can you feel the special connection between Al Pacino and Diane Keaton? Do you believe they were in love, or did they just respect each other and be close friends? Leave your ideas below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more great movie stories.